What's going on, guys? I'm doing a rear brake job on a 2020, I believe it is, Hyundai Kona. It's a nice, pretty car. I like the color of it. It's like an orange cream. Whether it's a good car or not, I have no clue. So pretty much we'll just get right into it. I got the rear lifted up and the rear wheel taken off. I haven't done anything else. You will need a 14 millimeter for the caliper, both of these caliper bolts, and then the caliper bracket bolt is a 14 millimeter as well. I did the other side, so that's how I know, obviously. There's the other caliper bracket bolt. So you need, you got four 14 millimeter screws on the caliper and the caliper bracket, and then you got these two Phillips head screws that hold the rotor on. You know, one thing to note here is that the parking brake is actuated by a cable, which is nice for us or anybody doing it. That way you don't have to figure out how to release the electronic parking brake and reactuate it and all that goofy stuff that comes with these new cars. So anytime I see a cable, that's always nice. You know, I got a power stop brake kit, brake rotors and brake pads. So these are pretty much all the tools you'll need. You'll need a Phillips, a flat for prying, some Channies, 14 millimeter ratcheting wrench. I got a 14 millimeter on a half-inch drive wrench to break the caliper bracket bolts loose, a hammer to pop the rotor, and a C-clamp. So I'm pretty much going to show you guys how to do this without using, you know, one of those brake tools where somebody, you know, it's that fancy thing where you put it in the slot in the rear caliper and you put pressure on it and spin it in. I'm going to show you guys how to do it without doing that. I do have the torch just to make it easier on taking the Phillips bolts out. And I got a 1/2 inch impact to pull the wheel off. Got a little file to clean up the little keepers for the brake pads, and that's about it. So we'll go ahead and get right into it then, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just get these bolts hot. I'm not even going to waste time and try to Hulk them off, you know. I'll get them hot and then I'll pull these caliper or these brake rotor bolts right out like this with some heat. And keep in mind, guys, this has never been touched. This is from the factory. The pads on the other side were like half worn down or so. I know the customer went to a shop and they recommended they replace all their brakes. You know, whether or not you're down to metal or not, you know, that's what that customer wanted to do. So the brakes aren't terrible on this car, but you know, obviously I'm out here trying to make money. So yeah. See if this will come loose, I guess. Nice. I'll do the same for the other bolt. As you can see, the thing's kind of a little rusty, got a little bit of crud on it, you know. Heat the other one up. You know, I always like to keep all my bolts and everything in one spot, so, you know, I'll pull all these bolts out and then I'll just keep them in one spot that way I don't lose them. It did rain earlier today, kind of sucks. I'm working on the ground. You know, some of you guys who watch some of my auto videos know that I have a shop. You know, unfortunately, I didn't feel like driving to the shop today. It's about 40 minutes from where I live, so just going to do this one in the driveway, guys. See the paint burning off of that? It used to be yellow, now it's white. Maybe that's hot enough, we'll see. Nice. I don't like to struggle, I like to do things nice and easy, so I'm not even going to waste my time. Just heat them up a little bit and get them out. So I'm going to move on to these caliper bolts. Like I said, they're 14 millimeter. Come around the side, show them. I got a young shorty helping me out right now. He's 10 years old. This is his little first YouTube video, so you got two 14 millimeters right here on the back of the caliper bracket. Pull those out. Caliper's off. This thing weighs like nothing, so you don't have to worry about tying it up or something like that. You got these two little things on the brake pads right here. Show them. You got these two little spring clips on the brake pads right here. Our kit came with new ones, so I'm just pulling them right out. I ain't gonna save those. But now over here, swing it around to the back. Here's your caliper bracket bolts. You got one right here and one right there. They're 14 millimeters. Pull those. I'll probably just loosen it real quick with the big bar. Once those are loose, I'll come in here with the little Milwaukee angle wrench. Pull them right out. They got some lock washers on them. I don't really see that too often. There you go. The brackets out. Just beat these off real quick with a hammer. The tab goes down and is in the back, as you can see. Your little brake squealer. So remember that when you guys go to reassemble. I'm just going to clean these up with a file real fast. Just hit them really fast to make sure there's no crud on them. They're pretty clean. You know, I know this kit does come with new hardware, but I don't have the time or patience to replace it right now, especially when this car's only got 50,000 miles on it. There's nothing wrong with this hardware. You know, I'm sure I'll get flamed in the comments for that, but that's where I'm at with it. Just clean it up real good. Make sure there's no crud or dust or buildup on it. Looks good to go. So I'll go ahead and lubricate these slide pins right now. I'm going to pull them out one by one. You know, this is pretty clean. These are free moving. You know, the car's got low mileage on it, so 50,000 it looked like when I popped the dash. Just wipe it off real quick. Get some new grease on there. These kits do come with grease. I take them out one by one because, you know, one of them has that rubber boot on the inside. I'll show you on the next one. That way I don't get them mixed up, right? I took one out, I greased it, I put it back in. You know, I know a lot of people also grease the ears of the pad or where the, you know, where the hardware sits. See, look at that little rubber boot. It's like an anti-rattle rubber boot. I typically don't grease those because, you know, we live in Illinois and they salt the roads pretty heavy. When you grease those ears of the pads and stuff, it always attracts dust and dirt. I know there's a lot of schools of thought there. I used to grease them, now I don't. Just clean them up pretty good and send it on its way, really. So yeah, that's why I only take one of the slides out at a time. That way I don't get these two mixed up on the side that it's supposed to be on. Well, the caliper bracket's ready to go. I'll just go ahead and put the brake pads in too while we're at it. Seem like these like to go in from the back. You got to kind of push these little tabs in to get them to go in. That's another thing to note. And remember we said the one with the squealer goes on the inside on the bottom. You can kind of see it better here. You see how you got to push these down a little bit to get that pad to slide in there. Ended up going from the front. Cool. Alright, so we got our caliper completely ready. I guess I could put the spring clips in. So these things go in like this. What they do is keep the pads from sticking to the rotor. They kind of push them out a little bit. That way when you're done braking, the pad's still not contacting the rotor, you know. Little holes in the top of the pads for that. So there you go. Our slides are lubed. We cleaned up the little pad holders. The pads are in. We're ready to throw these back on. Just put that to the side. Go ahead and just beat this off real fast. There we go, one hit. Slide the rotor right off. I already hit this with brake clean before I started, so if you look at the hole offsets, one's still, you know, I think it could only go one way. Like if I try to go this way, it'll be upside down. So for the hole for the Phillips screws, yeah. Now we'll throw the Phillips screws in. You know, I don't have any anti-seize on me. Sometimes I'll clean up the hub and put some anti-seize on before I put a rotor on, but I just don't. I'm not at my shop. Limited resources right now. I put that Phillips screwdriver. Just hand tighten these down. Doesn't need to be tight. Just hold the rotor on. Some people delete these. I've had to drill a lot of them out. Use an impact screwdriver to get them out, but these came out pretty easy, so. Alright, now for the little trick I'm going to show you guys. If you look at this caliper, it's one of those that it's got these little cuts in there that you use a special tool to put pressure on it and then spin it at the same time for it to go in. But let me show you guys something. This is a pain in the ass, and if I had my tool on me, I would use my tool, but I don't. It's at my shop, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a C-clamp on this thing and put some pressure on it, and we'll see if it'll spin just by the clamp. That's The other side did a little bit, and I was able to get it with some channies. But look, I'm gonna try to center it up right here, center it up where the clamp's at. See this one's spinning just a little bit. Nice. A lot of times I'll put pressure on it, and then I'll get the channies on it too, or I'll spin it with the channies. Like, you know, you don't want to damage the boot or nothing, but you see I'm spinning it with the channies there, and then you can put a little more pressure on it and spin it with the channies again. But be sure to not damage the boot when you do this. But I'm not going to AutoZone to rent a tool if I don't need to. I think this is bottomed out anyways. We'll find out in a second. Try to spin it a little bit, see if it spins. I think it's bottomed out, guys. Oh no, it'll spin. Might not be bottomed out. Put a little more pressure. We'll try to put the bracket on and put this on, see if it's down all the way. But I'm gonna go ahead and put the bracket back on. Two 14mm bolts for the bracket. Go around to the other side. There's one. Just start them by hand. And I'll hit them with the drill. Just give them a crank with this. These things weren't terribly tight, but I always like to give them a wrench turn. Click. That's my torque wrench, guys. You know, for some of you guys who like to really torque a lot of things, especially some of you newer DIY guys, when you've been doing this stuff for a long time, you just really get a feel of how tight things should be. Alright, so the caliper did go down all the way. Cool. Just got these last two 14s. This is probably a pretty quick video. I know some of you DIY guys might struggle through some of this stuff, and that's okay. At least you're out there putting in the effort. It takes a long time before you're even able to bang out a brake job in a really short amount of time. You know, like, people get jammed up by the smallest stuff. You see me, I'm holding this thing, the slide, so it doesn't rotate on me. Sometimes you gotta hold this while you tighten this, but sometimes you get lucky and you don't. It'll just bite into the back of the caliper there. These don't need to be terribly tight, but I like to give them a good snug way. So that's pretty much it. That's how you do a rear brake job. I'm gonna go ahead and spray a little bit of spray a little brake clean. Spray a little brake clean on this and call it a day, really. And this was done in real time, so if there's any questions, concerns, comments, let me know. I'll try to answer anything I can. It's a pretty straightforward brake job, you know. Yeah, so that's how you do rear brakes on a 2020 or newer Hyundai Kona. Cool, guys, appreciate it. Later.